we're from a company and project called Gitpod, which is what we're going to talk about as well. So I'm preaching to the choir here, but pretty much everything we do these days is containerized. We build our code in a container in our CI systems. We preview our stuff by deploying it to, say, Kubernetes. We deliver our stuff using CD, all container-based, and we run our stuff as containers in production. The one thing that is not yet containerized, at least not widely adopted, is the development side of things. We're still developing on pretty much this, our local machines. And developing locally comes with a bunch of drawbacks. So if you want to start working on something, say you want to review a PR or you want to start working on a new feature, first you do a git clone, you download the dependencies, so watch yarn downloading the internet. You have to maybe install a bunch of tools that are described in some outdated README. So you'll go back and fix the README so that the next person doesn't have to, and eventually you can start writing code. And this setup effort is quite considerable. So, in the order of days, especially if you're onboarding someone new to a project or in an open source project where we have these onboarding situations quite often, this is a considerable effort. What we would rather have is an environment where we open our containerized dev environment and we're ready to code. So to be able to have something like this, we first need to move away from this informal description that we have in a README and move to something that is essentially dev environments as code. And here's one way how this could happen. On the right side, you see a Dockerfile that essentially describes the user land that you want to work in. And this is not much different to what you would use for your CI system. In fact, at Gitpod, we obviously develop Gitpod in Gitpod, and the Docker image that we use in our user land is exactly the same that we use in our CI system. And this already eliminates an entire class of issues because we don't have version mismatches between what you use locally, quote unquote, and what you use in your CI system. On the other side, you see what's the Gitpod YAML. There are other formats too, the dev container JSON, some of you might know, where you can configure how your dev environment looks like. So what do you want your user land to be? In this case, we're pointing to the Dockerfile. You could also have a reference to an existing image. A bunch of tasks that we want to or need to execute before we can start working. And these tasks run automatically as you start a workspace. A bunch of ports and what you want to do with them. Do you want to open a tab when that ports gets serviced? And a bunch of extensions and other IDE-specific configuration. Now, let me show you what I can do with this kind of configuration in place. I have an arbitrary repo here, and I want to open that in a Gitpod workspace. So I can type gitpod.io/hash in front of that, and it will open a workspace for me. I already have one open. It passes the context, downloads the container image that was specified in the Gitpod YAML, and eventually it will give me a running workspace with the content initialized, with a essentially Git working copy of my workspace. I've already gone ahead and done this, and what I get from this is a fully initialized workspace that, as said, has a working copy checked out, where the tasks have run, all my services are running, and I'm ready to go. So to revise that, what just happened is I went to my repository, in this case on GitHub. It could have been on Bitbucket or GitLab. It could have been my own GitLab instance. Put gitpod.io/hash in front of it. And what Gitpod did is it went to the code hoster, understood the configuration that's in the repository, and based on that, went to a Kubernetes cluster essentially and started a container. In this container, we have an IDE running, in this case VS Code. We're given terminals to this container, and Gitpod will have put a working copy of my code in this container as well. Actually, all of this stuff happened quite a while ago. All of this stuff happened a few days ago when the last commit to this repository was made. What Gitpod did then is exactly what I just described. It ran those tasks, and then it created essentially a snapshot of that state. So all the dependencies had already been downloaded, Go build had been executed, and when I just opened the workspace, we just restored this snapshot, so I don't have to wait for all those tasks to run. So the moment I open this, this workspace, everything is really, truly ready to go. Dependencies are there, stuff is built, tests have run, and I can start. I don't need to wait watching paint dry, essentially. This stuff is not just a playground. So you may be familiar with previous attempts of bringing things to the web, specifically IDEs to the web. And the key point here is that we're not just talking about IDEs, we're talking about proper development environments. So things that I can do in here, for example, is I can do Docker something. I can do Docker run, for example. Nah. Right, and it will just, this is proper Docker that I have inside a Kubernetes container. You can also do other things that you would not expect to be able to do in a sort of multi-tenant container environment. For example, typing in the cold is hard. I can install stuff. I have sudo, essentially. I can install strace and run strace. And all of this happens within a container, not on a VM. So really what you can also use Docker Compose, for example. This goes way beyond what you would normally do in what we've come to know as web IDEs. And this is the key point. This is not about bringing an IDE to the web. This is about automating development environments. And we'll see more to that tune in a moment. Now, this thing I just did, where I essentially ran a privileged operation and where we ran Docker in what's essentially a multi-tenant Kubernetes setup, is not something that you would normally expect to be able to do. And the way this works is that within the container that is essentially your workspace, we produce a bunch of additional namespaces, use a PID mount namespace to isolate the workloads further. And this also works for Docker. So Docker needs an additional network namespace because Docker assumes it can handle the network devices around, does IP tables, stuff like that, C groups, what have you. The cool thing is that all of this happens without the container actually needing advanced privileges. So you don't need, for example, capsysadmin on the container to be able to do this. The reason I'm talking about this is because I want to drive the point home that containers at this point are at a point of development where we can do these things that we were not able to do just a year or two ago. And these things are also coming to Kubernetes. So KEP 127 will bring this to Kubernetes. It didn't make it to Kubernetes 122, but we're hopeful to see that land soon. Now I'll hand over to Jan, who's going to talk about what happens within this workspace.
So am I on? Oh, okay. So on the last slide, you've seen these nested namespaces, and within the innermost namespaces, Gitpod starts a process that runs supervisor. That's a component of Gitpod. And supervisor's first task is to start the IDE. In this case, it's Open VS Code Server, which is a open source version of a server that can serve VS Code that's running in browsers. And it's a bit complicated. VS Code is open source by itself, but not the server part. So here's an open source version of that. Once that's executing, this server is connecting back to supervisor, and supervisor offers all the services from within the workspace, like ports. But if you open a port, it's detected, and you can forward it to the outside, or providing the content of the workspace, the GitHub checkout that you did, or the terminals, because of course the terminals are living in your container, and you want to access them from within VS Code from the terminal in VS Code. The tasks that you've seen in the Gitpod YAML file that Chris showed before, and also authentication tokens to authenticate to the Gitpod backend, but also to GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket or whatever repository you're going to use. Web IDE is cool. It's not everybody's favorite. So, many developers really love their local development environments and their configuration, but there are also tons of good reasons for local development. That's why Gitpod comes with another component which we call the local companion app. And that is an app that you install locally on your machine that connects into your workspace in the cloud, in this container, via secure shell, and then allows you to access everything that's inside that. And that one, we did even more. So we wrapped that up in VS Code. So here we have this container-based workspace in the cloud. And from there, you can just open a local VS Code that connects to it. So let's hope that works this time.
The internet's been a bit flaky at times.
Internet's been a bit, yeah.
So this really drives the point home that this is not about IDEs running in the browser. This is about automating development environments. And we're demoing this with VS Code. We're very much looking forward to having this with JetBrains. Integration is ongoing. So the first thing that we usually hear is, well, I don't like VS Code. I'd rather use Golang. Fair point. This is coming.
Yeah, internet is
unlike the internet connection.
So what would have come would be VS Code would have started a new window, just authenticating us and then showing exactly the same terminals, exactly the same files as you've seen in the browser, and completely synced. And then I could shut down the browser and still use my local VS Code for development inside that container. And that's pretty cool. I mean, the entire setup is automated. Everything is fixed. And that should be cool enough. Of course, Gitpod is developed with Gitpod. I mean, if you develop a development tool, you should use it yourself. And this is what I'm going to show here. So we did a little bit more than just pre-builds and stuff like that. We have a continuous integration running that on each branch to the Gitpod source repository starts the build, but then also deploys the version that we've just built to our development cluster as a preview environment. And you can access it from within the workspace. And that looks like this. So that one was essentially a PR to Gitpod.io Gitpod from our colleague Alejandro. And we started a workspace on this PR. And in this workspace, of course, you see the Gitpod code of that branch, but you also have kubectl configured. So you can run kubectl get pods, and you see a bunch of pods running in the preview environment. So that is already connected to the deployment of that branch to our development cluster. And for example, we could now look at some logs, kubectl logs. For example, let's take the WS Manager. That is a component that manages our workspaces. Whoa. Oh, yeah. I'll fix that in a minute. Oops. Kubectl. I'm so bad at typing, I shouldn't do that in demos.
Missing the logs.
Where's your minus? Okay, that should work. No, it doesn't. Kubectl.
Missing the logs.
Missing logs again. Oh my god. That one. Okay. And now let's have a look at the PR again. So in the PR, you see a couple of checks. And one of the checks is actually the deployment of the new workspace environment. That's this one. So if I click on details, it opens the version of Gitpod with the changes from this PR. I can log in. I can start a new workspace. Oh, gosh. What's that? You have strange things configured on your machine. This is one of the example workspaces. So now our workspace is starting. I go back to the other workspace, the development workspace, and you should see some logs in here. So here, all the logs from the WS manager starting a new workspace.
The main point being that before, you'd have to figure out, how do I connect to my development cluster? How do I get access? What namespace do I need to use, etc. And here you can pre-configure this for every developer, and you can do this on a per workspace basis. You can do this on a per branch basis. And so all this sort of coordination effort that you'd otherwise have within your team just goes away. It's automated away. And this is one of the big benefits of automating development environments.
So if you had time, we could also show you how to use telepresence to debug various components within this running preview environment, but unfortunately a bit limited here. So let's go back to the slides. Gitpod is open source, so you can just go to GitHub, to github.com gitpod-io/gitpod, and you find all the source code. You can install it on your own cluster. But also Gitpod loves open source, and not every open source project can run their own clusters, and there are also, of course, a lot of commercial companies that do not want to host their own tools. So we offer a software as a service plan that is free for 50 hours per month, but of course, if you use it more intensely, you have to pay a bit. This is especially cool for open source because, open source lives by the contributions, from the contributions. So if you want to contribute, you get your environment immediately, and you can just contribute for free. So there's a lot of friction removed for open source. And with that, we're at the end. Of course, here's a shameless plug. We are hiring as well. You've seen that slide, I guess, on every talk here before. But Gitpod has a lot of benefits, of course. We are fully remote all around the world. Actually, we have nice perks, and we're looking for people, of course, also from the container world. And with that, thank you for your attention. And maybe you have time for a few questions? I think so.
I do think so. Thanks.
Okay.